super brief explanation of the Staph Aureus, but also the whole map of gram-positive and gram-negative and the classifications. So to start with, gram-positive and gram-negative. Generally, negative is more resilient. It has two layers, and you really need to have antibiotics involved to get rid of these. While these are more easily solved. So, gram-positive in general, is positive is classification of how many peptidoglycan walls it has, and then there's the shapes afterward, and classifying them, and afterward there's more that we've learned to use to identify. But generally, you should see what shape it is. So first, what kind of is it positive, negative? Does it stain purple or not? The cockeye shop is ball shaped, or rods. The bacillus are rod shaped, cylindricals. So generally, gram positive and cockeye is staph and strep. That's the general rule for gram positive cockeye. You should think staph and strep and the different forms that they have. And in the rods, you should think of the four types of Clostridium, Bacillus, and there's like Listeria and corneal diphtheria. After that, after the stain, after the shape, just to break it down to what species they are. Catalase is generally staph, and the staph is generally um, shaped like grapes, how grapes are together, while the strep is like a centipede. So staph is positive in catalase, and so break these down. Catalase is the enzyme used to break down peroxide, so H2O2 to oxygen and water. Staph can do that. It's triple positive. It's positive gram. It's positive catalase and positive coagulase. While strep cannot. Strep is like a centipede. You look at this centipede versus grapes. In the third, so first positive, second positive for enzyme or not. In the third positive that you'd find Staph aureus is coagulase, right? So coagulase, which makes the triple positive for gram, catalase, coagulase. It allows it to make blood clots, and this is important because it allows it to make a cage around itself, and be hidden from many things. So it can hide in the skin because of the blood clots it makes around it, like a shield. So things can't really just run into it so easily. While in the coagulase negative, so not the ability or not to make blood clots, if you don't have it, down that path is more staph epidermidis and staph saprophyticus, and that's what you think of. So generally positive or negative. In the positive side, there's cockeye, cylindrical, and our positive negative is what's on the surface of how many peptidoglycan do they have? One layer, two layers. In the cockeye, there's staph and strep. In the rod side, there's Clostridium and Bacillus and a few others. Then in the third of the positives, there's the second enzyme. First enzyme for the second positive is whether or not to break down peroxide. On this side, there is staph, and on this side, there's strep. On the coagulase side, there's only aureus left on the positive, and on the negative side, there is epidermidis and saprophyticus. But you can still decide if it's epidermidis or saprophyticus based on if it's resistant to novobicin, sensitive or not sensitive. So resistant. So in these three, gram, coagulase, you can remember with Staph aureus that this is the classification rule generally. So gram, catalase, coagulase, so or gram shape, two enzymes, and that's the four, I guess you could use for making it the whole table. And for Staph aureus specifically, there is a lot to talk about, but we'll go back to that after talking about gram-negative a little bit, the other side of this. So gram-positive, shape, these both have shapes, right? And enzymes afterward. But generally, the shapes on the gram-negative vary a little bit because there's cocci bacillus, so it's like in between rods and ball and cylindrical shape. So generally, you should think of the five Italians I kind of made up, and there's a few other ones that they're all Latin or Greek, but these are very Italian sounding. So in the five Italians for cocci bacillus, there's Haemophilus influenzae, Mortadella, Brucella, Pasturella, and Francisella. So these five are very Italian sounding. You could think of Ella, influenza, Mortadella, Brucella, Pasturella, Francisella. And also there's another shape, it's more comma shaped. This are also very Latin because they are Campylobacter, Vibrio cholera, H. pylori. These cocci bacillus and comma, you should think of Italian names, but the five are for cocci bacillus, and the other three are big high yield, are the comma shaped. And in cocci, so the ball shaped, what you think of same as Staph aureus. It has a few, but there's Neisseria meningitis and Neisseria gonorrhea, and Neisseria is what will get you a lot on for the ball shaped, cocci shaped. And for bacilli, that's right here, the rod shape. This is a really long list of different high yield ones, but the big hits are E. coli, Salmonella, Legionella, Klebsiella, and Shigella. So again with the Ellas, Legionella, Klebsiella, Shigella. There's about 10 or 11 big Italian names in this negative side that will get you really far. These five, these three, these two also, but there's more like 15, 5, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These 12 will get you really, really far in general. And I'm trying to stop a little bit. For Staph aureus though, just to break something else down. So Staph aureus, like I said, is grape shaped, so it's a ball. It makes up a larger buildup of balls. That's the general way to remember everything about Staph aureus. So it's gram positive, positive enzyme, also ball shaped, easy, ball made of balls. And it's constantly a problem in the skin. It can be a problem in the nose, the lungs, but mainly you should think of the skin. When people play sports, you get staph infection. It's a skin infection. It has a very super mutated evolution. Whenever in the world we have that's abundant in antibiotic use, and so in hospitals we have MRSA. These are essentially super level that are immune to methicillin, but we'll get to that later. It's to be sticky or slimy, so it has a slime layer in the biofilm, and it stays on prosthetic catheters and or parts of the heart sometimes. So these are with surface adhesion proteins. There's protein A. Antibodies are sensed, but macrophages and neutrophils can't recognize it. So it's like shape-shifting or more of a shield, but things can't get into it, right? It does not allow opsonization or to get eaten, so it's not allowed stuff to get eaten easily. And enterotoxin means it's already in your food, so pizza looks like a basketball, but it's supposed to be pizza. People vomit. If you vomit soon after without a fever, that's a sign of enterotoxin from Staph aureus, because it is in your food. It can be in your food, and it will last through heat. It's yeah. Oh, heat actually it's heat labile actually. So maybe you should change that. But the way it works is that it stimulates the vagus nerve to make you puke. So that's something you should remember. a super antigen, so TSST. It causes severe organ failure or fever, and this can kill you. But that's the two toxins. These are the two biggest toxins that you should know about. There's many toxins in this, and there's a cytokine release. So the cytokine release is a storm actually. I should put a tornado, but you should think of interleukin 6. I'll put 666 because it's the worst, and it causes inflammation. Then there's tumor necrosis factor alpha, which also is inflammation, and then interferon gamma, which is part of the storm. So these three are really high yield for the cytokines that what make a lot of these problems. It's a storm. And we have the skin because it's recognized as a skin infection, and it can live on the surface or inside of it in an abscess, and it can become scalded skin syndrome. Sometimes it's in the lungs or the nose. They stay easily. Some enzymes that are Staph aureus, there's catalase, like we talked about, that breaks down peroxide. Coagulase, which makes blood clots. Nuclease, which is different from strep pyogenes. So nuclease and DNase. So these are two different. This is how these two vary a little bit. Besides the shape, this one is more ball shaped, right, like grapes. This is more of a centipede. So grapes, centipede, and Staph aureus is also golden on the surface. It's also golden on the surface. That's why it's called. That's why it's given its name Aureus actually. Fibrinolase breaks down blood clots, so they both are able to do that too. Lipase breaks down fat at the superficial level. Hyaluronidase, it breaks down hyaluron at its connective tissue, and it allows for spreading to the fascia. So important. Many enzymes, many cytokines, and just to get this over with, vancomycin. So if you had to remember vancomycin versus cefaxilin, vancomycin is for MRSA. It's for super resistant form. The super resistant form. Think of the van, go mice. So it's a van. It's a mice that goes. And then while for the non-MRSA, you should and you can use cefaxin and think of a fax machine. So this cefaxin, vancomycin, and yeah. So this skull right here, I have that because when you see pus inside of your skin, you see pus, that's actually neutrophils. That's dead neutrophils. And when neutrophils are supposed to be eating, like it usually does for your immune system, it dies inside. So when you pop your skin infection, you pop it, and that pus, that's dead neutrophils. That's right here. Right, so it enters and it dies in its bubble of influence. I got through most of this, but basically next time I'll probably talk about staph versus strep. But you can think of the grapes. They both have different they both have different area of influence, but staph is generally grape shaped, and this is more of a centipede. And there's more strep throat versus a skin infection for staph, and strep. Strep hygiene has sore throat. And that's it for today. Thank you.